Hello and welcome to episode 588 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan. It is, of course, time for the weekly show you cannot live without, Market Monday. Yes, that's right. Each Monday, I go over the biggest risers and fallers in ADP from the previous 7 days, discuss whether I'm buying or selling these players at their new prices. The idea is to get you up to speed very quickly on what's happening in the best ball markets. Before we get into it here, a reminder that our early bird bundle is now live. Combines Draft Kit Pro, which covers best ball, season long, and dynasty, with our in-season product, which runs through the Super Bowl. Early bird special on that bundle is now up for a limited time. Check it out on the subscribe page at establishtheRun.com. Basically, if you plan to play best ball, redraft, dynasty, and DFS this year, this is by far the most affordable and best option that you can find. Also, reminder, if you are the type of person listening to a fantasy football market update podcast here on July 24th, well, you should be putting your knowledge to work at Underdog Fantasy. Tons of best ball action, including Best Ball Mania 4, $25 buy-in, insane $15 million prize pool. Use promo code ETR when you sign up for a $100 matching deposit bonus. That's promo code ETR at UnderdogFantasy.com. All right, let's begin with the biggest best ball risers from the last 7 days. First one I want to talk about is Ryan Tannehill is up 11 spots on Underdog, up to 200th overall. Obviously, there is a ton of fallout from DeAndre Hopkins' decision to sign with the Titans. I'm going to save most of that discussion for the upcoming pod with Silva. We're doing a rankings change podcast shortly. That will be the next podcast up on your feed. But I did want to touch here on Ryan Tannehill because it's most important for best ball, more important for best ball than redraft or anything else. Tannehill remains, to me, not really relevant in redraft, but he does get a really big boost here in formats like best ball, where I'm drafting 2 or 3 quarterbacks, 2 QB leagues. And the reason that he gets a boost, I think, is threefold. First, with DeAndre Hopkins, we can project a boost in passing efficiency. I think people forget how important wide receiver talent is to a quarterback's outlook. Classic example is Tom Brady looking really washed up in 2019, his final season in New England. His best pass catchers, though, were an old Julian Edelman, Philip Dorsett, Mohamed Sanu. Then in 2020, Tom Brady goes to Tampa. He has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. He has Gronk. He has Antonio Brown for a bit. And then Brady looks like Jesus himself again, the best quarterback in the league. So anyway, when you replace targets at dust balls like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine or Chris Moore or Racey McMath, when you replace those targets with DeAndre Hopkins targets, obviously we can project a bump for Ryan Tannehill in completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdown rate, et cetera, et cetera. DeAndre Hopkins, Treylon Burks, Chiga Kwangwo. I mean, it's reasonable now, the weaponry for Ryan Tannehill, whereas before it was league worst. Second thing I would say is that with DeAndre Hopkins, we can project a boost in Tennessee's passing rate as a whole. They were actually middle of the pack last year in pass rate over expectation at 16th overall, still leaning a little bit towards the run. But I don't think it's crazy, especially with Derrick Henry turning 30 in January. I don't think it's crazy now that they have DeAndre Hopkins for the Titans to get into the top 12 in pass rate over expectation. Obviously, that helps Ryan Tannehill. And finally, my final point here, most importantly, I think for Tannehill, the DeAndre Hopkins move signals that the Titans are not going for a developmental year. They think they can win and win now. And that gives Tannehill a ton more job security. I think it's really likely, health permitting, that Tannehill starts all 17 games now and keeps Will Levis on the bench. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past them to be good and contend to win the division. I mean, they're still lacking overall talent, but Vrabel always gets the most and more, really, out of his team. So bottom line, I think Tannehill is pretty strong as a third quarterback in best ball, and he's really still free. And in 20-round formats, I do prefer having 3 quarterbacks. It helps with advance rate and backdoor stacks for the playoffs as well. Second riser I want to talk about is Leonard Fournette. He's up 8.7 spots, 190th overall on Underdog. I believe this is stemming from the workout the Patriots held last week. They brought in Uncle Lenny and Darrell Henderson in for a workout. ESPN's Mike Reese reported that no signing is imminent. Sides could always revisit in the future. I do think, though, that the Patriots want to add running back help. I talked about that some on the Dead Zone running back show. I don't think they want Ramondre Stevenson to have that same usage he had last year following the Damian Harris injury. They've been linked to Dalvin plenty. Dalvin Cook, they've been linked to Lenny plenty. Who knows who else? So that said, as we focus more on Fournette here, what can he really give an NFL team at this point? Even if he signs with New England, I can't project him for more than, 5 to 9 touches per game. And so at 190th overall, Zamir White, Tyler Conklin, quarterbacks like Tannehill, Stroud, Sam Howell, some wide receivers like Slayton, and another wide receiver I'll get to in a second here. A hope of 6 to 9 Lenny touches is a tough sell versus those other guys. But there are less likely but still possible outcomes for Fournette, like a training camp injury to a running back. I mean, we just saw Nyheim Hines go down today to an off-field injury out for the year. Or maybe Lenny signs somewhere and then the starter gets hurt. And so on teams I need to find some running back upside, I don't mind a desperation pick on Lenny. I'm not excited about it, but I think there's still a path for him just because he's viable and good in the pass game. Last riser I want to talk about is Mecole Hardman. He's up 6.3 spots on DraftKings to 206 overall. I don't think there's been any real news here, but I have been taking some late round flyers on Mecole Hardman. I know it looks incredibly crowded in the Jets pass catching core, but I don't think much of Allen Lazard as a wide receiver. Randall Cobb is pretty withered at age 33. Corey Davis looks like he'll stick on the team, but remains a trade candidate. Meanwhile, the Jets were very aggressive in free agency on Mecole Hardman, getting him right away on a 1-year deal with $4.5 million base and another $2 million in incentives. Of course, it's scary that Hardman never really hit with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, even after Tyreek Hill left. But they never used him as much more than a gadget guy. Jets say they're going to have him run a full route tree. Maybe there's a reason the Chiefs only used him as a gadget guy. But at this cost, I think it's worth a gamble. I mean, we're talking the 17th or 18th round for a talented Mecole Hardman who ran a 4.33, getting a change of scenery, which I think he needed. So, I mean, he's basically free. I think that's one of my favorite late round, like 17th, 18th round wide receiver flyers. Well, let's get to this week's fallers. First fall I want to talk about is Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is down 12 spots on DraftKings from 158 to 170 overall. Alvin Kamara is up almost 3 spots to 80th overall. I'm not surprised at all that Kendre Miller's ADP is tanking as he got hit in 2 ways last week. First, Alvin Kamara pled no contest to a misdemeanor stemming from that Vegas fight he was involved in. No felony for Alvin Kamara. So the consensus is that his suspension length is mitigated. We're currently projecting a 4-game suspension for Alvin Kamara. Certainly could have been worse. And second, Kendre Miller started camp on the NFI list. Now, I'm going to talk more to Silva about this on the next show as he's spoken to Underhill, but it doesn't sound like this Kendre Miller NFI thing is related to any injury or knee issue that he's had in the past. Maybe he reported to camp out of shape. I don't know. Regardless, I think this is a good buying opportunity on Kendre Miller. Others are fearful we can be greedy or whatever Buffett says. Saints still have a Jag, just a guy in Jamal Williams, and we still have a likely suspended Kamara, who, by the way, Kamara lost too much work for my liking last year to Mark Ingram. And Mark Ingram is now doing games in the broadcast booth for Fox this season. And so, I think there's some more flags around Kamara, but the Saints still have the softest schedule in the entire NFL. And so at 170 overall, looking for late season running back production, I think Kendre Miller is a buy there. Second faller is J.K. Dobbins. He's down 5.5 spots to 68 overall on DK. On Underdog, half PPR, he's down 2.3 spots to 59.4. A few things here on J.K. Dobbins. First, the headline was that he lands on the PUP list to start camp. Everyone immediately assumes it's the knee that he's had problems with. It's the knee. And yeah, that's concerning if true. And Dobbins did not look right to me last year, despite averaging 5.7 yards per carry, which is wild, by the way. Like, it looked like he was like dragging his knee behind him a ton, and he still averaged 5.7 yards per carry. But I think the real story with this is that it's more likely Dobbins' absence is related to his contract. He wants a new one, which would make sense if A, he didn't play running back, B, he had played more than 23 games in his 3 NFL seasons, or C, had actually looked 100% last year and participated fully in the offseason. He has not participated fully in the offseason. So, I mean, in this holdout situation, Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley, they have almost no leverage. But J.K. Dobbins has stone cold zero leverage. And so I suspect he'll realize that, come to his senses. He hasn't been a priority target for me for reasons we talked about in that dead zone video, but down to 68th overall on DraftKings. Obviously, he's worse in full PPR, but 68 overall is close. It's getting close to where I'd be in on J.K. Dobbins. Something that just happened before I hit the record button on here is this Kadarius Toney stuff. Looks like Kadarius Toney's injury that he sustained on Sunday during practice is a bit more serious than a minor tweak. Travis Kelce saying we hope to get him back for week one, if not a few weeks into week one. And so I'll talk about this more with Silva on the next episode, but I just wanted to put out there for now in my personal drafts, I'll be avoiding Kadarius Toney and targeting guys like Sky Moore and MVS a bit more. All right. That's going to do it for this week's Market Monday. Thanks to all of you for listening. If you have not subscribed yet to the EstablishTheRun.com podcast, be sure you're searching for it anywhere podcasts are found. Also, be sure you're following me on Twitter for a ton more player takes at Adam Levitan, and be sure you're subscribed to our YouTube. It's free, and there's a ton of content on there that does not hit this pod feed. We'll be back later this week to talk to Silva about news and rankings changes. We'll also have Brandon Thorne on this week to talk about his offensive line rankings. For producer Luke, for King Editor Jackson Kane, for the most beautiful beast in the world, Jerry, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.